From the land of thousands of instant noodle flavors, this is the Soul Podcast. I'm King Sejong, reminding you that Korea is shaped like a rabbit, with its butt facing Japan. And here are your hosts, Emma Kalka and Joe McPherson.
And welcome to the Soul Podcast. This is Joe.
And I'm Emma.
Thank you for joining us today. No. Emma's laughing because I said I was really tired and I need a caffeine boost.
And then you just came out, you popped that out like nothing.
I just did it. Yeah. Focus. It's what's called podcast meditation.
Focus the energy.
Mm-hmm. Well,
actually, I feel like I should be sending you my energy or something.
Getting your energy. What is your? I assume you're having a drink of the week.
Yes, actually. Well, I mean, I'm doing red tonight. I haven't actually
lucky
opened
red.
it yet. Yeah, well, I'm about to finish this glass, but I haven't opened it yet. But this is a new one I haven't tried yet. But I'm a fan of.
You got it from the local convenience store.
Yellowtail. I'm a fan of Yellowtail, and I saw this is big, bold red. I never tried this before, so when I pop this open, we'll see.
I'm pretty sure that's a lip stainer.
Yeah, that's why I'm wearing lipstick.
Your teeth will be purple by the end.
Possibly.
My sister's a Yellowtail drinker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. When it was one of those, like when I was freelancing and super broke, it was it's my poor college student wine. That one in Vindange, which you don't get in Korea. Mm-hmm. Well, because that's not even the cheapest wine. So that would be like my splurge night. Like that's how
Yellowtail was your splurge.
That's how broke I used to be when I was freelancing. That Yellowtail would be my splurge wine. Because my daily budget would be like maybe 20,000 won. So most of it would be.
That would be a bottle of wine.
Yeah, that would be a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
now I have a full-time job and I don't have to worry about that most nights.
Yeah. Now she's working full-time as a journalist can we say what we have already said before where you work?
Yeah, maybe don't mention it too much.
I shouldn't. Don't want to get her in trouble for stuff she says on this show. Tell us about your shirt. This is the second time you've worn this shirt on the show.
No, we've talked about it, but I haven't actually
we've talked about it. We haven't seen it.
I wore it in one of my news update videos that I did. So this is my Women 2020 shirt.
Women 2020. Lying in Ponds.
Distributing swords.
Wonderful.
At this point, might as well.
Yeah, might as well. Just to remind everyone, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and like. And if you're listening to us through a podcatcher, if you haven't already, subscribe. And
leave us comments. We don't get comments.
Getting back into the swing of things of the Soul Podcast after our long hiatus.
Since last week.
Can you read my shirt?
Mostly harmless.
Yeah. There we go.
Mostly harmless.
You have to be a real nerd to get that one.
I must not be a real nerd.
It's from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, I haven't read or seen it.
Well, there wasn't much space in the actual Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so all that research that was done on Earth was reduced to 2 words, mostly harmless. That's the description of Earth.
I feel like it's one of those that I really need to read and watch just because I hear
the book is good and the original BBC radio drama, because that's what the book is based on. The radio drama was made first.
And then the book.
The TV show, which is honestly pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
As a Doctor Who quality to it, kind of low budget, high
imagination.
Just high language.
Ah.
You know.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
It relishes in its low budgetness. It's like we don't give a crap.
I like that when they're just like, we know we're low budget, but we're just gonna go with it.
Yeah,
I think that's why I loved like Drunk History so much.
I like that one too. Yeah,
because when they would do the recreations, they're like, and then Alexander Hamilton got on a boat, and so they have like a little toy boat, and they're like, and then there was a hurricane, and it caught on fire, and so you see a hand coming in with a lighter, setting the little toy boat on fire. I love that.
Would you get to do much in Seoul this week?
No.
We were all quarantining this weekend. Everyone was quarantining this weekend.
Yeah, well, like the Seoul metro area, we're still under 2.5. So like 2.5 was supposed to end on Sunday.
2.5 out of 3 levels. So we were almost to the highest level.
Yeah. And then I want to say Friday or Saturday, I can't remember which day it was, they decided to extend it for 1 more week because they're like, you know what, look, numbers are getting lower, but they're not exactly where we want them.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Keep it another week. Let's get them down. And even now, like we were getting a lot of reports today where they're like, they're already saying, we're thinking, we're reviewing, we'll make a decision this weekend if we're going to extend.
No. Because one of the things they're doing now is they're also expanding this to shutting down Han River parks.
Yeah. And so that's until the 13th.
So the restrictions there, but that's because I heard news from eyewitnesses that people were really being careless at the Han River parks. Lots of crowds, no social distancing, some people not wearing masks.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because they shut down all the restaurants at 9 p.m. So people were just going down to the river.
Oh.
I mean, well, no, that's my guess. There's no actual proof or...
No, it's just a nice day. I mean...
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the weather's nice. It hasn't been raining a whole lot. Last weekend, It didn't rain. Like, actually, last Saturday, because I was, doing my social distancing thing at home, and I stepped out of my apartment to go to the convenience store to get some stuff. And I looked over, and my neighbors had a few people on their rooftop, which is, like, right level with my rooftop. And so I was like, hey guys, what you doing? And they're like, we're just having a few beers. And I'm like, cool, I was just gonna go to the convenience store and get a few beers. And I'm like, bring your beers and have your beers with our beers.
Are they close enough to do like water balloon fights?
Yes. We have joked so many times about constructing some sort of ladder or bridge between our rooftops, because there's maybe like a 3.5 foot gap between our buildings. Yeah,
and it'd be great to have drunk people on a ladder.
Yeah, like that's why it's only been a joke. Because we're like, man, what if someday we need to just like put a bridge between our 2 buildings. And then we're like, and then we all stop at the exact same time and imagine drunk people trying to traverse. We're like, yeah, but
no.
But yeah, so I saw them out on the rooftop. I went and got a few beers. I ended up joining them. This was earlier in the day. And then about 7, we were all hungry. So we went to a chicken place and we were there until like right before 9. And then we went right back to the rooftop. But there were only 6 of us. So, and you try
to do some distancing. You were doing your hand washing and spitting on each other. You weren't playing spin the bottle.
No, like we weren't wearing masks, but we were sitting far enough apart. It didn't matter.
I don't know what single people do these days. So I don't know.
Oh, well, it was 2 married couples and then 2 random single people.
And then you.
No, I was one of the random single people.
You're random single people. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we went out to the canal for some rollerblading for my daughter. And people were generally wearing masks, but it was a lot of people out there over at what I call the Email Back Memorial Canal.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Which is really nice. And every time I'm there, I'm always thinking like the guy who made that is just rotting in prison right now. But he made a nice canal.
Look at this nice thing that he did for the city.
Well, it looks nice, even though he did destroy a lot of environment to make it.
Okay, yeah.
But it's nice.
It looks nice.
It's nice. It's.
Yeah, I know you take your tours down it. Well, not you, but Sean does.
Down the Era Waterway? Oh, no, I'm not talking about the Cheonggyecheon.
Oh, I'm thinking of Cheonggyecheon, sorry.
But no, I'm talking about the bigger one, the Era Waterway, which is part of the Seven Rivers project.
Oh, that one. Oh, yes. Okay, now I see what you're... Okay,
or was it Six Rivers? Darn, I'm forgetting how many.
Four Rivers.
Four Rivers.
River project.
Okay, but keep reducing that down.
Now I get it. Sorry, I was thinking of Cheonggyecheon. Sorry.
Yeah, no, this is his bigger project, which is like supersized Cheonggyecheon.
Like a cemented over street that he turned into a stream. I was like, now I get it. Okay, yes, the Four Rivers. Lots of...
Yeah.
They're still trying to figure out that.
Dug out a lot of rice fields and stuff. And yeah, it's... I mean, for those of us who live in this area, it's recreation that we normally would not have had. A nice little place to hang out. But it's not used for anything. It's not used for... You hardly see boats on there. Other than remote control boats. Supposedly, I think was it LG or someone has a cruise boat that you can go on cruises. I never see it go though.
Well, obviously now.
Yeah, obviously not now, but in all the years I've been here, which has been around 5 years I've lived here.
I still don't understand what the whole point of the Four Rivers project was.
It was a legacy. It's just men just building memorials to themselves, monuments to themselves. It was supposedly to link all the rivers so that we would get more river commerce, because I guess we're back in Mark Twain times.
Where people get around by going up and down the river instead of using cars and roads.
I guess. I mean, there's some sense. I mean, maybe some things are manufactured in one area and they move up the river to go to another area, and it could be transitional that way. Also, a good part of the Han River bends up to North Korea, so this cuts North Korea out of the equation when it comes to the Han River.
Oh, okay. It was also supposed to like help clear up like the water quality, but then it didn't really do that.
No. Never think it'll do anything for the environment. But there are many cool little spots, just like the Cheonggyecheon has these cool little areas, little themed areas. The Ara Waterway also has that. There's a glass bottom bridge. That's really cool, and it's lit up at night like a rainbow. And a lot of the bridges along it are lit up like rainbows.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really beautiful at night. It's this thing. If you live in Seoul and you don't go out and you see these things, it's one of those little things just right outside your door. It's beautiful to look at. It is gorgeous little canal. And I say little, I mean, I couldn't swim across it. It's big. And there's themed playgrounds.
When they really want to develop canals, they put like restaurants and bars along them.
Yeah, there aren't really that many restaurants and bars. There's convenience stores, of course, and coffee shops, but not that many. And I don't get that. I don't get why they didn't build any buildings right on the edge. That's like a detraction.
Yeah, when I think of like a canal and like building up commerce around a canal, I think of like San Antonio. Which is like the big one. And then like even in Oklahoma City, like they built up Bricktown based kind of off of what San Antonio did. So they had like these canals and it was like a downtown warehouse district, and then they, converted it into like there's a lot of bars and clubs and restaurants and stuff. I haven't been there in like since I was in high school. So, and when I was in high school, they were still developing it. I've since heard from a friend of mine that I met here in Korea, who's also from Oklahoma, who's moved back to Oklahoma City. He's like, oh, Bricktown's not like the greatest place where it used to be. And I'm like, wait, I missed it. Oh my God.
I know. Came and went.
Over. I missed like when it was good and now it's not good.
Yeah. Missed opportunities in Seoul, especially the Cheonggyecheon. It seems like they're kind of making up for it when they made it this little area for the food trucks on the weekends. Which aren't happening now, but they were happening then before Corona.
Yeah, they were.
And there's a bunch of food trucks selling really bad street food. But if it's Korean food, it was good.
I used to walk by them when I worked at Yeonup. I would walk by it when I was going home.
Yeah, I walked by it on the tours. Yeah.
I was living in Kundae on line 2 at the time. And I hated transferring. So I would much rather walk 20 minutes from the Yeonup building down to Ujuro station. But yeah, it would take me right across Cheonggyecheon. So anytime there was like during the Lantern Festival or Buddha's birthday or anything, I would always just kind of walk through. And it was kind of like a nice way to break up my...
Yeah, it was nice. And the food trucks there, I mean... There were some good ones, I guess, but a lot of them I could tell were bad. Some of them I've already seen at there was a food truck festival a few years ago. Tried a bunch of them and they were really bad. A lot of them were really bad. It's just they're trying to do food that they're not specialized in. Like they're trying to do foreign foods, and it's that uncanny valley where they just kind of looked at pictures or maybe YouTube videos of how to make it without actually tasting the original first. And
they were like, it looks pretty.
Yeah, there's one that's always on there. It's a fish and chips one. And it's all British themed, but it's fish that's coated in the Japanese panko breadcrumbs.
Oh no.
And they serve it. They serve it with basic stick fries, which aren't chips, they're fries. Yeah. And then you don't get malt vinegar. Instead, you get sweet chili sauce. Yeah. Well, I did check out your video this week. Your Rosie Monroe. If you're going to say my burlesque name, get it right. Rosie Monroe. Okay. Like Marilyn. Okay. Okay. Marilyn Malone. You can tell I'm a dad.
It's fine.
Rosie Monroe, talking about your story, your burlesque story in Korea, which I found very fascinating. Yeah, it's a new series I started since I'm stuck at home most weekends. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'll just start posting videos about amateur burlesque, which is what I do. I'm not a professional by any means. I basically taught myself how to do everything for the most part. Some stuff, I don't know. I would watch videos. I would watch other members of my group and pick up stuff, but I never took any classes or anything. But yeah, so no, this weekend, I think my video that I'm going to make is burlesque on a budget. Mm-hmm. So talking about how I put together acts and costumes and stuff without spending a lot of money. Our coronavirus cases are getting down. Mm-hmm. After the latest cluster, there's been threats from right-wing groups that they're going to go out and do some more rallies. And this time, the government and the citizenry are like, no, you ain't. No. Mm-mm. Yeah, they're like, F no, this is not happening. Actually, I think the prime minister gave a speech today, and he was like, we are going to do everything that we can to the letter, following the law, anything that we can do, abiding by the law to stop this from happening. Mm-hmm. And I think they've basically already said, like, hey, large scale rallies, no, you can't do it. They're banned. Because a lot of groups were talking about doing big rallies on October 3rd for, it was like National Foundation Day, it's right? One of our Independence Days, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, and so a lot of the same groups that did rallies on August 15th had already put in to do rallies on October 3rd.
And they've already told the police stations to be like, hey, you got to tell everyone that no, you can't do rallies. It's illegal because of COVID-19. You know, gatherings of thousands of people are now banned. Which, you know, they're still gonna show up. So then
I'm going to throw this out there just because it's in my brain and I just got to let it out. Mm-hmm. You know, years ago, a lot of local government complained about pojangmachas, street food carts being out. And what they did was they hired mafia thugs to overturn the carts and
I remember that. Like, Gangnam got that really bad. I remember that.
You know, why aren't they trying out with this time with them? You know?
But the government can't be connected to it.
Well, how did they do it last time?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Could we do a GoFundMe to hire these guys?
A GoFundMe to... I mean, part of me is like, yes, let's do this. And then part of me is like, oh, but it's a bunch of old people. No. This is why I'm saying it's just something I just wanted to just vocalize. I'm not serious about this at all. We're not serious about this. Don't do this.
I just wanted to air it out just to release that fart from my brain.
So you didn't have to hold it in anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it also happens, it's happening like over the Chuseok weekend as well, which everybody is really terrified about.
Yeah. So the government is really more vocally saying, don't go travel for Chuseok.
Yeah, they are very strongly recommending that people do not travel to their hometowns. And there's actually petitions on the Blue House website for the government to just outright ban Chuseok. Because apparently, I don't know how that would work. But a lot of people are saying like just highly recommending that you don't go home is not working because our grandparents are still, guilt tripping us to the nth degree to come home, which I feel so hardcore for that. I mean, like my grams, God rest her soul. I love her to death. She was a really amazing woman, but she could also guilt trip like nothing else. Mm-hmm. But even then, like I still like, you know, when I didn't give in, like I didn't feel any stress about it.
So but I know in Korea, so that people can say, "Oh, I didn't have a choice."
Yeah, the government said, because like a lot of people are still feeling like a lot of stress from it. You know, their families are just like, "Oh, well, you're not in it," and you know how Korea is. It's different here than it is like, you know, us facing guilt trip from our family.
Yeah,
back in the States. They're over in the States, so it's easy to be like, sorry, no money, can't come home.
I can't do it. But this is the thing about traveling. People are like, oh, they'll be in a car. I mean, trains and buses, people think of. But what I think of most is rest stops. There are germ farms. They're messy, gross. You really want to see how men cannot aim properly? Go to the men's room at the. Mm-hmm. It is just. You just walk into the men's room and you're already in a puddle of urine in those places.
Yeah, well, and that's like one of that they were saying like, I mean, yes, there are, buses and trains, but rest stops were also like one of the biggest concerns that they were having because so many people. It's not just like, people in cars stop there, the buses stop there.
Yeah.
So anytime I've taken a bus and we've had to stop at rest stops, I was just like overwhelmed by the sheer amount of people.
Yeah, and I like them. Under normal circumstances, they have their charms. I have a big fan I'm a big fan of rest stop potatoes. They're kind of roasted, tiny little roasted steamed potatoes that you just put a little salt and ketchup on.
I like those. Those are good.
I love those. Yeah, and grilled rice cakes. I like those a lot. Those one time early in our relationship, my wife and I, before I think we weren't married yet, we were taking a trip on the bus and at a rest stop, and I went and got me some grilled duck and some honey and brought it back on the bus, and my wife was like, "Put that away, you're embarrassing me. You're so country." Only country
You're not
people.
supposed to eat on the bus.
No. Only country people would eat grilled duck.
Really?
Yeah. She was so embarrassed.
No, I know I'm a country person. I would be right there with you. I'd be like, cheers.
Now, there's something else I do that really is, he says, is too country. Is if I get a roasted sweet potato, I put a little fresh kimchi on the end. You need that.
I don't do that.
It's got to be fresh kimchi. It's got to be that sweet, fruity kimchi.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like the kind you get at Galbi Tongue restaurants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, I will try that next time.
Yeah, or Bosam kimchi is really sweet, fruity stuff, and with a roasted sweet potato, like fire and roasted in coals. Those are the best.
Ooh, yeah, but none of those because no one's supposed to be traveling for Chuseok.
Yeah, and we liked it because it just gave us another excuse not to have to travel to freaking Gyeongju again.
Yeah,
we're overdue for a visit.
I think a lot of people, because I think that's why a lot of people I feel like they're going to be okay with this, because all I hear about when it comes to Chuseok and traveling is just like how much stress Chuseok is, especially for women, and especially for married women. And so this year it's like you get a free pass. There is a pandemic. You don't have to travel. The government is begging people not to travel to hometowns. Yeah. So you just got to be like, hey, and if grandparents start guilt tripping you, just be like, well, how much do you like staying alive?
No, that's not going to work because they're the ones who think this whole thing's a hoax. They'll say Obama did this. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, but that's not going to be the vast majority of old people.
No, but a significant amount. I mean, the highest demographic of cases right now are old people.
True. So it's going to be like, hey, yo, you want to... Yeah, they're pushing the death rate up.
Well, darn, ruin it for everyone, aren't they?
That sounded... Okay, I'm not sure if that sounded horrible or not, but no, but it's just the facts. Like, they went 6 months and only 17 people died from COVID-19. And then after this latest cluster in 2 weeks, 11 people died. And so the government's like, because it's a lot of older people or people with pre-existing conditions that are catching COVID-19. And that's upping the percentage of people who are in serious and critical care. And yeah, so, the number of people, we're still in the 300s when it comes to the death toll. But if you look at the numbers, it's definitely sped up since August 15th. Sorry.
It's about relative speed, not absolute speed.
Yeah. And it's just because, it was a lot of old people that were at that rally. So a lot of old people were getting sick in this latest cluster, and unfortunately,
what makes me a little nervous right now, it's not in the show notes, is that also a Korean company is going to be the major producer for Asia for the Russian vaccine. Yeah, really nervous about, are we going to implement that here? On the other hand, I'm hearing more and more about
the Russian vaccine.
This is why I'm feeling I'm feeling a little bit positive now, because I'm of the mindset of, why are we focusing so much on when we have a vaccine? All we need is a treatment.
Right.
All we got to do is just make sure people aren't dying from this. They can catch it, but just make sure they're not dying from it.
Right. Well, in Korea they do have several. There's actually a lot of treatments that are currently in clinical trials right now in Korea that have been developed in Korea.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I think I was reading about one today that they're working. They just got approved, or they're about to get approved for phase 2 and 3 clinical trials in Korea, and the same drug, same treatment. Yeah. I think it's an antibody treatment.
Yeah, that's what I read. Yeah.
Yeah,
because
and they actually got approval in Britain.
You don't need a long trial for treatments as you do for vaccines.
Right. You just need to know that it works for a majority of people, and then go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is a positive thing. Like Korea does have a lot of like treatments in the works that are currently in clinical trials. And so I feel like here, at least we're going to have decent treatments coming out in the next,
give us some relief. So hopefully by 6 months, maybe we'll have an effective enough treatment that we can relax the social distancing a bit, and then it gives us some breathing room so that in 2 years when we get a vaccine, we would be okay. I just read today that Sweden's numbers have gone down. They did a massive COVID-19 testing and found a very, very small number of people had it. On the other hand, a lot of people had to die before they got those numbers down.
True. Yeah. And in Korea, like I think like the most recent numbers I was looking at today is that they still had around 24% of cases were untraceable. And 40% of positive cases were asymptomatic. So we're getting into that territory. Like we had kept like the untraceable routes number down. Is down, compared to other countries, we had kept it down pretty low. Yeah. But then this latest bunch of clusters have pushed up. So now it's like over 24% of new cases are untraceable, and people are like, it's either people don't want to say like, oh yes, I was at the rally, or
it's the rally people.
Oh yes, I was at this church. Yeah. But it's also people who are just like, I legit don't know. I was just going about my day. I didn't go to that rally. I didn't go to that church. I don't know anybody who has COVID-19. Yeah. And here I am, and I have it. So I feel like that's probably not a majority of those cases. I feel like a majority of them are probably people who are like, I went to that rally, but I don't want to tell you that I went to that rally. Or, they have some sort of connection to some of the negative groups that are in the news for it. So maybe they don't want to say like, yes, I have a connection. Yeah. But
and there's also the other inconvenience of having to write down your name and get your temperature checked. And every time you go inside anywhere, especially at restaurants, you have to write down all this information.
Coffee shop, restaurants and coffee shops have to do that now.
Today I went to Taco Bell and I had to fill it out.
Every time I go to the coffee shop in the lobby of my office building, I have to fill it out. I'm like, I work here. I literally scan a key card to get into the building.
In my building, you get checked once and they put a blue sticker on you, tiny blue sticker, and then you're fine for the rest of the day.
I actually know. I think it's because like the coffee shop is located in the lobby outside of the key scan thing. So even people who are not going up to the offices can go in there. Yeah. But it's mostly people who work there that are using it. So
yeah, I'm just saying we can go in and out as we please, as long as we just have that blue thing. Yeah. It's not so bad. Sometimes I just do want to take off the mask a bit, wearing it all day long.
Yeah, wearing it at the office but I've been doing it for so long. It's just
I'm used to it now. I'm really used to it. But the thing is now with the work I'm doing, I really need to do some networking. Can't do it right now.
Yeah, well, they're like the articles that I was reading today, they were actually saying if the numbers don't even have to get better if they just stay where they are right now. Yeah. And then they think that they won't extend 2.5 next week.
Well, I mean, the whole reason they did 2.5 was because of all the spiking anyway. They said, if it's going to spike again. Yeah. And I remember you warning on your social media accounts that they were going to do this.
And so there was one, I can't remember who it was, but somebody with the KCDC said today, like, the way things are going, we don't think that we will have to extend it for another week, but we still have 5 more days. So let's just see what happens. And and today, the numbers were a little bit higher than yesterday, but also Monday and Tuesday are still kind of hangovers from the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's not as much testing on the weekends.
I watch it the way I watch stock market numbers, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna. That's the natural fluctuation.
Yeah. So at this point, and even for Seoul City, we're back down at double digits for Seoul City.
Yeah, that's been good. It's been good. The increase has been in Gwangju.
Yeah. Suddenly, I saw that. All of a sudden, there's all these new cases in Gwangju, and I'm like,
It's been untouched this whole time, and now, it's your turn.
Gwangju is like, yes, we made it, and then they're like, oh, God. Oh, it's like, your turn. It's your turn. We all had to deal with this. And you meant Daegu is probably like, ha, take it.
Yeah.
Well, Daegu still had it the worst. Even with the Sarang-cheol cluster, we still didn't reach Daegu number.
Yeah, we didn't reach 11,000 or something.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. The Cheol Sarang Church cluster did not reach the numbers that the Shincheonji did. Yeah. Seoul did actually end up having more cases than Daegu, I think. Because Daegu, I think they stopped a little over 5,000, and then Seoul, we're over 7,000 total.
Seoul has a 10 times larger population, too.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like...
And especially if you count Gyeonggi in there. Yeah.
Seoul and Gyeonggi.
Well, let's see. I'm looking at our list right now of stuff to talk about. Anything strike you?
Actually, because 2 of them are kind of related when you think about it. You know what I'm talking about.
Talk about the digital prison?
The digital prison, yeah, and the infamous child rapist who's about to be released.
Mm-hmm.
They are related because it's kind of except the government's going to do it instead of this illegal website.
I added the digital prison because it's shown up on a few news sources. It's not some...
I saw that headline 6 or 7 times today, and I kept meaning to read it, but as soon as I was like, I have free time, I'm going to read this, another article popped up to edit, so I didn't have time.
I think it's something a lot of people have been wanting to do. I think even in the foreign community, we've talked about that, about, Hagwon blacklist, things like that. Some way to shame bad players. So in Korea, we have strict libel laws that are ensconced in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. And it's a right to reputation, a right to face. And that's why we're always hiding the identities of people who do bad. Most of the time.
Even if you're saying the truth and you have your evidence to back it up, you can still get sued, and you can still get sent to prison for it because libel is a criminal offense in Korea.
Korea is one of the last democracies where criminal
defamation. Libel is
defamation.
Yeah, libel is when you say something not true. Defamation is just when you make somebody look bad.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Even dead people.
Yes. Even if they're dead, you can still get charged with criminal.
I could say something bad about someone who lived 200 years ago and their family members could go after me.
They could file a complaint with the police and then they would investigate. And if the prosecution found enough, they could indict you and you could face criminal charges.
I know firsthand how that works. Yes, I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I know.
I
know how it feels to be interrogated at a police station over stuff you wrote on your website.
I've never had that happen to me. Working in media as long as I have,
you're protected in media. Your news organization, if they're worth anything, will protect you as much as they have. Can. Yeah, they have those legal teams. Yeah, because when I can't remember, when I was working at one of the, I think maybe it was the Herald or something, there was one of the copy editors, because we were also supposed to write articles as well. And there were a few times where one of our copy editors, because he liked to write a lot of stuff about North Korea, there were a few times when he kind of
towed the line, and the legal department, he would have to go have discussions with the legal department. But, you know, he was never actually taken to court. But it was threatened a few times.
Yeah,
but we were very, very, very careful. So anytime we had articles about major company, like say, because we did sometimes have articles about major companies who were, you know, had discriminatory hiring practices when it came to foreigners, and we were not allowed to use their name.
Yep.
Which for me as an American is super strange. Yeah. But that's it. Yeah, because they could totally sue you. And it's not even just being sued. It's like they could file criminal charges against
you. Get frog marched to the police station. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for defamation. Defamation is a criminal offense. And I'm just like...
Yeah. So the thing is this website is posting the identities of people, of convicted criminals who...
not even convicted criminals.
Oh, okay. Well, but people have been given lenient sentences, and the judges have given them lenient sentences. They're posting their information online. It is a little bit of a witch hunt, and that's why I'm kind of on the fence on this one. It's like
same.
It's challenging something that is a very archaic law, which is the right to face.
Mm-hmm.
Years and years ago, when I was involved in my thing, I had one of the top libel law scholars. He was consulting me for free, and it was his personal opinion that the days of the libel laws in Korea were numbered. He didn't have an exact number.
And since nobody has even attempted to change them.
But this is what it is. This might be a sign of things. This is a gurgle. Mm-hmm. Something's going on.
Yeah, something like this. I read the article and I was like, I can get behind the idea of it, because I understand what they're trying to do. Because it is true in Korea that a lot of a lot of people who create very serious crimes get off incredibly light. Yeah. I mean, I don't know like the current numbers when it comes to sexual assault, but I wrote an article about it back in 2014, and those numbers, even then, it was like out of 20,000 cases, like only maybe 18,000 offenders got picked up by the police, and then of that, and then it just like trickles down, and then you get to like maybe 2,000 of them served any sort of jail time. And this is for like rape. This isn't just for like groping or anything. This is like serious.
And there are cases of like the police discouraging the victims from even doing anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then, and then you get like back before, because it used to be acceptable in court for the defendant to use "I was drunk" as a defense. Like that was a legit defense that would get them off easy. They were like, "I'm drunk. I don't remember doing this." And they would be like, "Oh," they should be like, "Oh, okay. So since you don't remember, we'll just give you like probation for a couple of years." Yeah. They used to be, I think, and that wasn't even taken out as like a legit defense. I want to say until like 2012, 2000.
Well, there's the other story. This is where the story comes in, because
that's what I was saying. Like
when this guy got convicted, he was using that defense, and this is one time when
it was still acceptable.
The public was saying, "That's enough. Stop doing this." That's when we first started hearing that a lot. So yeah, this is 2008. We discussed this on the SeoulPodcast back then. Maybe I can find the old episode where we discussed it. It was a really disgusting. I don't even want to go into details about this. It happened in Unsigned.
I remember I was working. Well, no, I remember hearing about this case at the Herald because we were writing about it at the Herald, but that was years later. It had to have been when I was at Arirang, but we wouldn't write about this at Arirang.
No,
this is 2008.
No. Arirang is all propaganda.
But I remember when I worked at the Herald, and when I started working there in 2011, for some reason we had some articles about this case then. I don't know why, but
such a ripple effect. It just really changed society. One of those big signposts in the history of the society, where this man molested is really a light word to say. Molested this girl, like I think she was 8 years old, in a public bathroom, and with I think it was a mop handle.
Yeah,
did it so badly that it ripped up her sex organs to unrepairable.
Yeah, like she still has permanent damage is what I read.
Yeah.
So she would be 20 now.
Oh, it's so sad. I'm sorry. That's why I don't want to.
I'm just like imagining how she feels. Anyway, this guy's going to be released from prison in December because he only got 12 years in prison because he used the defense, "I was drunk."
Yeah.
And that's when people were like, this is a crappy defense. We should stop. But it still took, it wasn't until about 2011 or 2012 until it officially was like, okay, judges were told you cannot accept this as a defense anymore.
Yeah.
Because I remember with my case was in court in 2013, and he tried to use the same defense. He was like, I was blackout drunk, and the judge is like, I can't use this as a defense anymore.
Yeah. It's
not a legally acceptable defense. And so, I mean, but this was the case that started people talking about it, and it trickled down. So finally, my case, I feel like I always felt a little bit personally connected to this case because of that. Because unfortunately, because of that there. Case,
yeah, I don't want to dust off some stuff for you.
I'm okay with talking.
I know, and maybe facing these things is a bit of a therapy itself. There were a string of things that year, though. There was a lot, like a couple of years.
Yeah, a lot of things happened.
A lot of these cases, and this guy was just the peak of it. He broke the wall, and it's also fascinating to me that not fascinating. What's the word? The Soul Podcast has been around from the beginning to the end of this guy's jail sentence, which is shows how long the Soul Podcast has been around and how short the sentences are.
I know. Well, no, because I remember also, because I feel like there was another case similar to this that happened around 2012, or maybe I'm just confusing it in my mind. But I also remember in late 2012, I think it was fall 2012, another kind of sort of milestone case was the Suwon Case, where this woman calls the police, begging them to come help her. And they're like, oh, wait, but we have to talk to the fire station to get the GPS on your phone to be able to come help you. Yeah. And it took hours and hours. And then when they finally found her, she was just dead and dismembered.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not related to that.
No, that was a big one. I think we discussed that on the Dark Side of Soul.
Right before my attack, and I'm just like,
yeah, that was a big one. That was a serial killer case.
They did catch him, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the only serial killer they never caught was the Hwasong murders, but then they actually they found out that they had actually already caught him.
Yeah.
So no mystery serial killers left in Korea now. Hopefully.
We might have discussed it on the Dark Side of Soul podcast. Plugging the other show. Yeah.
Go listen to it. I recommend it.
So long time listeners of the Soul podcast remember us talking about him.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh.
But yeah, no, because I remember, because they were saying, with this guy from the 2008 case, because he's being released in December, And there's been so many petitions. They're like, no, you're releasing him too soon. And the government's like, legally, we cannot keep him detained any longer than 12 years. He was sentenced to 12 years. There's nothing legally that we can do.
Yeah.
But when he gets out, he's going to have an electronic bracelet. All of his personal information is going to be online. His address is going to be there. We have to inform people, whatever neighborhood he moves into, we have to inform all the people in the neighborhood that he's moving there.
Yeah.
You know, which actually, and I think that's similar to America, at least with like the sex offender registry.
Yeah. And it's another reason why my wife does not want to live in a villa, because they tend to live in villas. They don't live in apartments.
Oh.
In fact, there's one that moved into a villa just a couple of blocks down from us, a sex offender.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see what the specifics were of it.
Well, yeah, because like in the States, they have levels. There's like level 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
Where like level 1 is where like you flash somebody. And then
or
level 3.
Minor statutory, maybe like someone who's 18 has a 16-year-old girlfriend or something like that.
Yeah. But in Korea, I don't know if they have levels here. I haven't really looked into it. I don't even know where to find it. I know that there's a sex offender registry in Korea. I just don't know the website. I don't know where to look it up.
I'm sure we can find it out. Let's test the hive mind for that. I know where to find wanted lists, and I know where to find missing children's lists, missing persons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think that's why. So, like, the government has that, but I think that's why a lot of people, this sort of digital prison site is getting a lot of notice because, yes, they have people who are convicted that got light sentences, but they also include people who were not, who were just accused.
Yeah, and that's shaky ground. That's going into Nancy Grace territory.
Yeah, that's we're starting to get into witch hunt territory there, which I feel very uncomfortable with witch hunts.
If you're accused, then you're guilty.
Yeah, like I think if there's a lot of evidence there to back it up.
Yeah.
And then because I mean, especially like knowing the American legal system, people get off for technicalities.
Yeah. I've been on the receiving end of being accused of a crime I didn't commit. So it's really scary. So I'm just, you have to, it's not something that, okay, well, this person, he's a rapist. Okay. What's the evidence? And it's really scary. It's really scary because you feel so helpless. And you're suddenly labeled as something that you're not, and that doesn't go, and it doesn't go away very easily. Mm-hmm.
I mean, like even in this article, it said like some guy who was falsely accused, like some young guy that was falsely accused, actually like committed suicide because all of his information got put. And so I feel like the idea behind it, I understand and I agree with, but the execution of it, I'm like, you got to be really careful here. You got to treat this as though you're a detective or an investigative reporter. You got to have that evidence and paper trail and everything to back up what you're saying before you go after someone.
Yeah.
And make sure that this truly is a person who got away with it and not just some poor schmuck who got mixed up in something. Because it does happen.
Yeah. I mean, people get accused by ex-girlfriend, ex-lovers, or people who rejected them, or just vindictively. It's just such a gray area. There are no winners in this.
Yeah. Well, and as a survivor, it's, I actually support, like, we gotta fully, because I do know, like, with number wise, especially in Korea, yes, it is true that a lot more people get away with it.
Yeah.
That are falsely accused. But at the same time, people being falsely accused, I feel like it happens more in Korea than it does than what we see in the States. And it's something that you do have to keep in mind with this. You can't just like blindly go after somebody on the internet just because, you know, somebody said something. You gotta, I mean, and you gotta make sure there's something there to back it up. Yeah. I mean, and this is not talking about cases where like Bill Cosby, where you have like 30 women saying like, yeah, he raped me. That's different.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, but I mean, yeah, I feel like there are a lot more cases of false accusations. Not a lot. Like, this is not saying that there are tons of them. There's actually not a ton, but I feel like it happens more here in Korea than it does in the States, just from what I've witnessed and heard.
Anecdotal stories. Yeah. I've heard of a good many too. Yeah,
but at the same time, when you do look at the statistics for sex crimes and how many are reported versus how many actually get prosecuted and stuff, like, you know, the numbers are there. People do get off a lot more than they actually face the punishment that they deserve, which we shouldn't forget about just because of this. But you have to like keep them both in mind.
Yeah. In other news, do you keep with VANK? VANK? We call it VANK.
Isn't that the dope people?
They've been a thorn in my foot since their inception. Yeah, they are the defend Dokdo people. Dokdo is ours. Dokdo Uritang people. But they also, in the beginning, they're the ones who did all those really clumsy ads promoting bibimbap.
And the New York Times too, right?
Stuff like that. Yeah, they've been involved in a lot of this Times Square stuff and the goofy stuff. So they've always, anytime I see VANK in the news, I'm going, oh no, what did they do this time?
Oh, what are they doing now?
This time I agree with them.
Actually, yeah, I do.
I'm on the same page with VANK.
Like, you know,
so VANK is launching a campaign against the International Olympic Committee. And at first I was thinking, oh no, it's because of something that happened in the 88 Olympics or something. I was like, they don't.
Yeah.
No. It's, in the past, that was the World Cup. The World Cup was when that guy got.
Oh yeah.
That guy got in trouble for wrapping a Dokdo flag around him.
Yeah.
But no, is that and remember the Pyeongchang Olympics? There was this Korea unified flag.
Right.
It showed the blue Korean peninsula, but it also had Dokdo on the map that was portraying Korea. And the IOC says Dokdo is disputed territory. You need to remove Dokdo from the Korean flag, United Korea flag.
Yeah, because we don't take we're Switzerland. We don't take sides.
Then, but on the Japanese side, for the Japan Olympics, they were showing maps of Japan, and Dokdo is Japanese territory on their maps.
And they didn't do anything.
And they're also they say no political statements, but they allow the Japanese raising sun flag, which a lot of people are unaware of. It's not there, but it's almost the level of a swastika to lots of Asian nations is the rising sun flag.
And that's not just a Korea thing. That's like Korea, Japan,
around Asia,
Southeast Asia, Asia. This is an Asia thing.
Yeah.
Well, because it was the sign for the Japanese Imperial Army during World War II.
And before then, yeah.
And I mean, I was like, you know, that's the flag that they had when they bombed Pearl Harbor. If we're gonna like really rile up Americans.
So VANK is putting the IOC on notice for their double standards.
Which this time I'm like, okay, yeah. I thought when I saw that, I opened up the article. I'm like, is this gonna be like a good chuckle?
Yeah, I was expecting that too. I was expecting a giant eye roll.
Chuckle. Let's see what New York Times ad they're doing now.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, this is actually legit. This is legit. Like, regardless on what your thoughts are on Dokdo, this is legit. If
you
the
gotta
IOC
be fair.
is going to be like, Korea, no, you can't do it, you got to say the same thing to Japan.
Yeah.
Because it's contested territory. Even though it's technically inhabited by the South Korean Coast Guard, which I assume makes it Korea, but whatever.
It's, I don't know, maybe the underlying implication is just this long-standing favoritism towards Japan.
Could be.
In many ways.
I mean, I would like to think that it's just ignorance, but at this point, I'm like...
Yeah. Well, it could be ignorance. It very well could be ignorance.
I'm pretty sure the rest of the world doesn't really care, two shits about this very small island that doesn't really have people on it and who it belongs to.
No.
No one really cares.
The rest of the world doesn't care.
Yeah. It's like Japan and the Kuril Islands with Russia, right?
Yeah.
But Russia actually has people living there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a little bit different. This is like a big rock, and then there's like a South Korean Coast Guard building.
It was built there just so that they could say they had someone there.
Yeah, that's basically it. Nobody actually lives there except for like these Coast Guard people that are like moved in and out.
Yeah, and they want to be, the people that are living there, they want to be there.
They're very much like, we're defending it from Japan.
Yeah. I'm done making fun of Dokdo. I'm fine with Dokdo. It's
with it. It's there. I think at this point, it's give it to Korea.
For my wedding, one of my wedding guests gave me a Defend Dokdo t-shirt as a joke because they knew the Soul podcast and all the stuff. We were making fun of it a lot. My wife still wears it all the time. She loves it. And my favorite one is the Dokdo. I have a Dokdo is ours dish towel. It's the best. Oh, it's the best.
I hadn't heard any Dokdo stuff in a really long time. So I saw this and I'm like, I'm going to get a good Dokdo laugh. And I'm like, well, no, this is actually good job. Yeah. Good job, VANK. Good job.
Yeah.
You're actually calling out something that needs to be called out.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not a bibimbap ad. It's actually something, it's a double standard. If you're going to be like, nope, Korea, you got to take it off your flag, then you should tell the same to Japan. It's only fair. Right.
Unfortunately, someone else is being called out is Sam Okyere.
But isn't he? Well, he kind of called. Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam, we talked about on previous shows. He's quit one of the TV shows. What is it? The Korea quiz show.
Yeah, like
about how much foreigners know more about Korea than the other C-list celebrity guests.
Yeah.
Man, they should have me on that show. No. They should have Sean on that show.
Yes, they should have Sean. We would both fail miserably.
No, you'd be surprised at how little some of these people know about their own country. But, it's not my place to do that. I don't think it's...
Well, and my mother does call me like the encyclopedia of useless information. So I might go on thinking like, oh, I'm going to fail miserably. And I'm like, wait, I actually know this answer. Yeah. Oh my God. But my Korean is not good enough. That's the big thing.
Especially if it's about food. Yeah. I'll just rant on about it.
If it's about like random people in Korean history that don't really, maybe, I don't know. No, but anyway, the show is not important.
Oh, I'll tell you about the origins of japchae. I'll talk about that. Yeah. The japchae came from a cooking contest.
Ooh. Yeah. Well, the show is not important, but Sam removing himself from the show.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just feel like it's another Korean witch hunt sort of thing, and he doesn't deserve it.
I think it's... he challenged the victim narrative. I'm going to say it again. He challenged the victim narrative, and this is what you get when a lot of people's identity wraps around that they've always been victims. And then when someone challenges and says, no, you're kind of the victimizer too.
You're kind of bullying people with this thing.
You know what's a really good analogy? Watch Cobra Kai.
I haven't watched it yet, but ooh.
Yes, I don't care if I spoil it. I'm not going to say details, but it does. Even though it's really cheesy, if you embrace the cheese, you will love Cobra Kai. It is. Do not expect it to be deep and thoughtful.
Kid bully,
What's funny about it? It is so over the top cheesy. It is basically a Korean drama done in America. On that level of cheese.
But isn't it the guy that was the bully in Karate Kid?
Yeah, well, that's what I love about it. It is the gray area about this. They really explore the gray area. And there are some, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but some really good topics they explore, as in anyone can be a bully. Anyone can be a bully.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this transform. You see at the beginning a bunch of these guys, which are the biggest nerds, and they're being picked on for facial deformities, for being too fat, and they're just cruelly done. And they're just like even worse than Daniel-san was done in the Karate Kid. They're just absolutely pissed on. And then you watch them grow, and then they become the bullies. I mean, it's fun watching them flip the tables and put the bullies in their place, but then they become the new bullies.
Yeah, so it's like for a half second, like you see them, there's a very fine line between when they're defending themselves versus when they become the bully.
Yeah, you see Daniel does that all the time. It's like you're rooting for Daniel, then Daniel's a dick. He's a douchebag.
Well, and I feel like it's a very good example of true life. It comes a point for a lot of people. There's a very thin line between defending yourself and then just becoming a straight up douchebag.
And I think that was I kind of superimpose how Korea is on that. It's always acting like thinking it's the bully when it can't see that once it gets power, it really loves to capture that power.
Oh my God! Yes. Yeah.
As soon as it's always one extreme or the other. He's extreme toadyism or extreme gapchil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like honestly, like because I know he got a lot of flack for that post about like the high school kids, but he didn't actually say anything he was not attacking them personally. He was just saying
blackface is wrong, and he's not.
Wrong, and it's ignorant.
Posted their picture. He posted their picture without their permission. Where the hell did he get the picture? He got it because it's part of the public. He
was one of like 20,000 people who were posting the same picture.
It was already in the public sphere. It's not like he went and got their yearbook and and scanned it.
I saw that picture. So I didn't even see his post. But no. I knew exactly, when I read the articles, I knew exactly what picture they were talking about because I had already seen it on the internet several times over. So I'm like, if you're going to go after him for that, then you got to...
It's a total misunderstanding of defamation laws, in my opinion.
Yeah. And
it's all about, if we don't like it, then that's defamation. No. That was really in the public zeitgeist. That photo.
Yeah. Yeah,
and,
like
and the whole
that was like, this is not cool. This is very ignorant. He didn't even call them racist. I don't think, right?
He just says blackface needs to stop. This is not acceptable.
Yeah, exactly. That's all he said. He was and used that photo which was a very good and a recent example. Like,
and then you get the assholes that say, "Oh, well, this blackface is really just more of a Western American thing," and it's
no.
I see. It's just this sleazy, slimy wiggling people do because I could tell that the people are saying that are the same people that love to accuse people of racism, but as soon as someone accuses them of racism, they're like, "Oh no, it's the West that does this. It's not."
Okay. So like blackface may have originated. It did originate in America. Yes.
Yeah. And a little trivia: there were African American blackface troops too, because it was a very minstrel shows were very common, and that was the roots of American musical theater too. There's some dark history a lot of people aren't aware of. Is a lot of American theater.
Well, I mean, it is called the Great White Way. Broadway is called the Great White Way.
The minstrel shows became vaudeville shows. The vaudeville shows became Broadway. That's basically how it is. And so, and blackface all the way up until the first talkie, the jazz singer. That was a blackface, and the history of American film also has unfortunate.
A lot of racist history. Birth of a Nation, the jazz singer, Gone with the Wind. Yeah. Breakfast at Tiffany's. All the way up to, you could say, Pretty in Pink. Pretty in Pink that has Long Dok Dong. Yeah. I mean, like, up until... I mean, and it goes beyond that as well. I can't think of specific instances, but I do know it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, like, basically, point being, I didn't think his post was, I didn't think it was bullying. I thought he was pointing out something that was very obvious and needed to be pointed out. Like, this is blackface. It needs to stop. Like, it's 2020. And honestly, in Korea, the ignorance argument is getting really, really old.
Yeah.
Because we've been having this argument since 2000?
Long time.
2000. Yeah.
But a lot of people have not been paying attention to the argument because it doesn't affect them directly.
Yeah. And so I think the fact that it's coming from a very well-respected Black celebrity in Korea, suddenly everybody's like, no. And it, ties into that no matter how much you get accepted, you're never fully accepted as a foreigner here.
As long as you are, you're the smiling Uncle Tom. You can get away with it. I'm going to get in trouble for saying that one.
No.
Yeah, you really do. You got to be the guy that's smiling with the big white teeth. You got to be the goofy.
Nothing bad happens.
The goofy, emasculated foreigner that's in ads. You notice a lot of ads that have male foreigners. They look totally emasculated. Anyway, but what I think what pushed it was the once you go black, you don't go back. Comment. So
I think even that was blown out of proportion.
That was way blown out of proportion. I'd say he didn't even say it. He just said preach to someone that said that, and it wasn't. I don't see it as sexual harassment. I don't know. It's a common phrase that's used. It's a source of pride, and it's a joking source of pride.
I don't know. I don't think that it was any reason for him to be canceled in Korea.
I mean, he was already saying orange is the new black. That was his.
Because they were both wearing orange T-shirts.
Yeah, so he was already doing puns on black, and the commenter was just playing off of that cue.
Yeah. I mean.
And so it was a string. It was a string of running this linked jokes and wordplay.
Which I feel like if it had just kept going, it would have gotten better. But
it's revealing just a very
Korea hasn't
thin-skinned side, really thin-skinned side, and just people having it out for him because he challenged the victim narrative. The other one is he was challenged to make ugly faces, and he made a face that started with
where
pulling back his eyes. I haven't seen the whole context.
I almost caught myself. I almost did. I'm like, oh my god, don't do it, Emma.
If he actually was doing that, then shame on him. If he was actually doing it, but
I don't know. I haven't actually. I think I would have to watch the clip. Because
that was a long time ago too. Why are we bringing up something from a long time ago?
I know. I feel like if it was really that serious, it would have been brought up back then because
it would have been brought up. Yeah, it would have been brought up when he did it on Korean TV. someone would have brought that up.
It's like he denied the claim on the BBC, saying the context was we were talking about Ugly Faces, a contest in Spain, and we were trying to do ugly faces, so there was no intent of mocking Koreans or Asians.
Yeah, why would you want to mock Koreans on a Korean TV show?
That's like death sentence.
What that? It's just. Could you just take your logic, just a baby step forward, and see how ridiculous this is, and how people just.
But I will say, like, I haven't, because this was apparently this was an episode of Abnormal Summit. I haven't seen this clip. So, like, if I do watch the clip and it is, like, very obvious, which I'm feeling like it's not, but if it is, then I will eat my words and I will make an apology. But I feel like if it's just coming up now, then it obviously wasn't that.
It feels like it was dug up just to try to balance it. It just seems like people feel uncomfortable being called racist. Believe me, I grew up in Alabama.
I know America right now. No one wants to be a racist in America.
It's uncomfortable to be called racist, no matter how hard you try not to be. And so the first response is to go on the defensive rather than listen.
Right. Yeah.
I've done that many times. I've done
it's
like
well.
on the defensive first.
Yeah, and it's just like, as a white person, you have to realize that you do have racist tendencies, and you got to acknowledge that shit and learn to and try and do better and learn to do better, and then also
shut up, listen, and learn.
Yeah, listen and learn. And so, like, when I see those posts on social media and people are like, oh my God, white people, blah, 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 I no longer get upset by them, because I'm just like, yeah, that's actually true. White people do that.
Yeah. We're going to get in trouble for something we say on this show one day. Drink of the week. Thank you. Brought to you by Yellowtail.
Brought to us by our non-sponsors, Yellowtail.
Yeah. Well, thank you for listening to us. I'm going to wrap this up. If you do like the show, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/SeoulPodcast, where you can get episodes of the show going all the way back to 2008. If you really want to hear what it was how it was like back then. And, oh gosh. It is
right. I got us onto a topic line where we're just like, oh no. We're thinking back to stuff that we said like years ago when we didn't know anything. We're just like, oh no.
Oh God, yeah. No, there's stuff I said back in the old shows that I would never say now. Yeah. But I still have them available, so because it's my growth as a person. It's like, you see my
just leave out there, like, yes, I was that bad younger, but look where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how it is. That's the progression of any story. Growth. This character growth.
Recognize you did shit wrong. Apologize for the shit and do better.
Yeah, try to do better.
Try to do better. Yeah. I recognize you're still gonna screw up at some point, but just recognize you screw up.
Emma, where can people find you to complain?
You can find me on Twitter at Emma EMMA Kalka, Kalka.
Wonderful. You can also follow the Soul Podcast on Twitter at King Sejong, and also on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Soul Podcast. Well, everyone, thank you for listening and watching today. Please tell your friends, subscribe. Please leave us a review wherever you can. Leave a comment, have stuff you want to talk about. Until next time, stay safe.
Bye.
The Soul Podcast is produced by Joe McPherson and is copyrighted 2020 by Zen Kimchi International under the Creative Commons license. Parts of this podcast may be used for non-commercial purposes if you remember to give us credit. You can contact us at sejong@soulpodcast.com. That's SEJONG @soulpodcast.com. For a transcript of this episode, listen to it again and write down what you hear. Please support us at patreon.com/SeoulPodcast.